Hey Bat fans, Luke here back with another video, and if you've been keeping up with my channel as of late, you'll notice that videos that I've been publishing lately kind of fall into two categories. One, you kind of have the more reviews where I kind of look at the Bat classics. Not like the Bat classic quintessential bedrock Batman stories, i.e., Year One, Long Halloween, Laughing, The Man Who Laughs, Killing Joke. I mean, those I typically try to stay away from doing video reviews for, mainly because it's been done a million times before, and if I'm doing them, am I really doing anything original? Probably not. So that's why I kind of like to take a look at some of the other classic stories I've been taking a look at. Like Shaman, Strange Apparitions, Dark Detective, Faces, stories like that. And then every once in a while, I will sprinkle here and there a more current story. I know I did Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin Volume 1 kind of overview, but that was more to kind of tie into kind of like the Nightwing story that's going on right now. But that's why I kind of focus on those stories, those older stories. Not too many people talk about them. And if I'm going to go ahead and go into the classics, I mean, it's been done a billion times before. Am I going to say anything any more original than it's already been said? No. Plus, people already do it better than I do. So why waste your time, right? So that's why I kind of like focus on the stories not too many people talk about. And I'll kind of go from there. The next type of videos I've been kind of putting out lately has been, the Batman, the Bat Hunts, where I go out there and look for key issues and back issues, whatnot, to fill in my Batman collection that I've been hunting after to get. And those are fun. I like to get them. And when I do that, it's not like I'm being arrogant, like, look what I got, great. It's just like, hey, it's just, before I put them in the long box, go ahead and show them off. Some of them have great covers, kind of a little bit about some of the history behind the book, whatnot. And just kind of just sharing the excitement of the Bat Hunt, So that's kind of why I do those. And what this channel used to be, I used to really focus on, as well as you haven't seen, is that, the weekly Bat story reviews. And there's reasons why I kind of stepped away from those. Being amongst other things, I had a video way back, when I was kind of going to a more creative direction change in the channel, kind of explained it, but it goes into kind of like why I don't do, the bedrock, the foundational Batman story reviews. One, you're going to see it all over the internet. People are going to, like Bat Josh and Sleepy Reed. I mean, all those guys, the current stuff, they're going to do it better than I'm going to do it anyway. And why sit there and beat a dead horse to the ground when, if it's good, it's good. I'm going to sit there and tell you it's good. And so are other people. They're going to articulate so much better. But anyway, so that's why I kind of shy away from doing the weekly stories anymore. And plus it's the time too. But I'm going to make an exception for this week, mainly because some of these stories that I read were just so good. And I just kind of want to share some thoughts about them. In addition to that, I kind of want to show off. I just did a Bat Hunt yesterday, so I kind of want to show off those as well. So there's a couple stories I'm going to kind of go a little bit more in depth, or a couple books I'm going to go a little bit more in depth. Some of the books, the rest of the ones that came out this week, which there was a huge stack of Batman books to kind of go over. Those are going to be kind of real quick, generally, what I thought of this issue, and generally as a whole, what I think of the title has been, and Rebirth, and then we'll kind of real quickly go through a stack of Bat books I picked up yesterday. But we're going to go ahead and start with the book I was just really had an awesome time reading this week, and that was Batman 25, which serves as part 1 of the War and Jokes and Riddles. Now, Batman, Tom King. I haven't said too much about the Tom King Batman, and I will say for a while I was kind of up in the air about where to kind of put Tom King's Batman. Mainly because, I hold Scott Snyder's run on Batman, New 52 in the highest regard, one of my favorite Bat runs of all time. And consider it biased, hyperbolic, whatever it is, that's just my 2 cents. So coming off the Snyder run to the Tom King run, I kind of wanted to keep my perspective kind of open because it's going to be really easy to fall into the trope of being biased toward, oh, it's not Scott Snyder, so it's garbage. So I kind of let myself be hush hush as far as letting my 2 cents out on the Tom King run on Batman. But I will say in the past 2 issues, I think Tom King has been doing exceptionally well, and progressively, I think the Batman title has been getting better and better and better. Some say that Tom King's writing style it builds on itself over time. So early on, when you got like the I Am Gotham and the I Am Bane, if you kind of look at his stories on its own, yeah, you might see a lot of flaws, but I think it's setting the foundation for future parts of Tom King's run. So looking at it holistically, I think Tom King has been doing a really good job on Batman, especially bold, underline, italicized caps on this phrase, the past 2 issues, where he really does get into the mind of Batman and the emotions and interaction with people that he has, where he's not just it's going to be tough to say, but it's a different approach to Batman than Scott Snyder did. By far, totally different. And some might think this is more of a depressed Batman, but kind of keeping in context what he's had to deal with since the Button story arc, you kind of see it. So, definitely the last issue. I'm not going to talk about issue 24 by now. I'm sure you know what the heck happened at the last page of that issue. But this was awesome. Twofold. We get Mikhail Janin or Janine or Bat Josh pronounces it better. Janine, I think it's what it is. Get his art in this book, and it is just awesome. Janine, his art, I definitely see him as a top tier Bat artist. Whereas others like Bat Josh kind of put him on the upper, this like the gold standard along with J.H. Williams. I'm not going to sit there and argue that. I think that is definitely, from his perspective and others, it's not the first time I heard someone high hold Janin's art in that high regard, but I'm not saying that is wrong because the guy got talent. And what I like about his style is that you almost can see this as actually being like a photograph. His style is really focused on the realism of things. And I think, was it Belair who did the colors in this? No, normally, I've been noticing lately Jordy Belair doing the colors, but I forget who did the colors on this issue. It says Chung, which, to be honest, I'm drawing a complete brain for it on the name Chung. June Chung, colors, okay. And I know Dating Miki's been doing inks with David Finch, but Janine is doing all of it. So the colors really do accentuate the dark subject matter in this story. And what we have here is, this is centered on circa a year after 0 year. And go quasi, we'll call it year 1, if you would. And what we're seeing is the foundational rift between the Riddler and the Joker. Both share the commonality of their enemy, Batman, and how the impact of Batman has made Riddler and Joker's life kind of where it is today, whereas obviously Riddler was actually in jail for his act on behalf of 0 year. But then we have the Joker, who just can't get into his groove and be quote-unquote happy. You see more of a brooding Joker in this story, which is kind of a cool contrast, where especially in Snyder's Batman run. While definitely Joker was dark, but it was dark as far as being violent and his even his way he kind of went about things was just really disturbing. Whereas this is like a very brooding Joker, which I thought was really well done. And again, Yanni's art was just absolutely superb. And as we see that's generally the foundational part of this story, where we're going to see a clash between Joker and Riddler over really who's going to take down Batman. That's basically what it comes down to. We see that I think I got a neighbor here. Visitor. Nope, gone. It really is who's gonna be the one that takes Batman down. So it was a really good foundational setup issue. Absolutely enjoyed the hell out of it. Tom King did just an outstanding job on the script and dialogue, and the art was just absolutely just beautiful to look at. You really do get a good feeling for where the story's going to go, and it was just awesome. Really did set this new story arc off on the right foot, and man, am I excited for this. I think it's going to be an 8-part story, so for the next 4 months it's going to be kind of this overarching story arc, but I think you're going to see some minor stories kind of get plugged into this. Obviously centered in the Batman title. I think you even have like a Kite Man story in here at some point. So, but yeah, this is going to be awesome. It was just great. Give this a 4 out of 5. The best part about this, other than I would think if you can get your hands on issue 24, it kind of puts to pass the last maybe 2 or 3 pages and the overall dialogue of Batman throughout the story, more context. It will kind of help out. But that said, if you haven't been reading Batman, I think this is actually a good jumping on point. And I don't think you need to know much about what's going on here, other than obviously, again, if I even read 24, I don't want to ruin it. But I think this is new reader friendly and easy to jump on. And I did get the variant issue or variant cover. This being the Tim Sale cover as well for Batman 25. All right, next book, and I really wanted to get a little bit more in depth in this one, but I'm probably not going to now, being number 12, going on 13 minutes in this video. And this is All-Star Batman issue number 11. Here is the standard cover by Albuquerque, and we got the variant Albuquerque cover as well. And lastly, I can't remember who did this cover, but I freaking love it. The third cover. All-Star Batman, to be perfectly frank, the first story, when I dealt with Two-Face, I was really excited for. And unfortunately, I think John Romita Jr.'s art kind of really killed it for me, to be perfectly honest. It wasn't really... I suffered through his art before on the Superman run in New 52 toward the very end. Didn't really like it. And while it does have its moments where it's pretty cool, I just think the story wasn't all that compelling to begin with. And if they had a decent artist, maybe it would have worked out a little better. But the fact that Romita's art was just, to be perfectly frank, subpar. I really did suffer through that first Two-Face story. But then we got into kind of like the Ra's al Ghul second story arc, which was really good. It had a lot of jock art. And this story arc, the first ally, which is heavily focused on Alfred and art by Raphael Albuquerque, ever since that Romita Jr. portion of All-Star. This title has really been progressively better. And this story has been really good. I've been enjoying it. And this issue in particular, I thought, was really well done as well. Albuquerque's art inside was just fantastic. He has his own way of kind of going about art and things. But still, it's definitely nice to look at. The colors are great. Whereas Albuquerque, where I kind of criticize his art sometimes, is that while I think the figures were designed, I do enjoy. Well, it's not always flushed out. It does kind of a rough, sketchy kind of technique to it. Well, I think he kind of falters sometimes in the background. It kind of just in the background, the panels, it's just bland. Like you see the sky and nothing else. And you'll say, well, it's outside. Well, what else you want him to do? Yeah, true. But again, here we go inside. Bland. Really nothing there. It's just sometimes his backgrounds get kind of vanilla. But that said, I think the art in here was really nice. Man, that's a bad glare. I wonder if I can just, there we go. Might be a little bit better. Oh, I got all the kids being all crazy today. But yeah, this story been really good. I like how you get a mix of, people, kind of a newish or a rehashing of some classics with the people down in Florida that Bruce interact with. Plus you get the interaction with like Penguin, Black Mask, and the Killer Shark, right? Yeah, maybe. Can't remember. It's all flushed out really good, and you really do get this feeling of really building up of something really impactful with this Genesis machine that both Bruce and the M15, I believe, is the people that Alfred used to work for, and this guy who used to recruit him is now kind of like the guy who's kind of behind all this. And you read it, you get it, but it's really nice. Especially when it plugs in the element between the story element with rebuilding Batman over time, which we saw a couple times in Snyder's run with the issue 27, Detective 27, the anniversary issue. We had a big 70-page spectacular where it talks about Batman regenerating himself over time. Then we had the Batman Future's End special, kind of dealt with this concept of Batman rebuilding himself so he never dies. And also we saw in Super Heavy. So we're revisiting that. So you got to think maybe at some point we're going to see something kind of connect with that story. But yeah, it's been All-Star's been really good. This issue was just great. I'd give it kind of like a 3.5 out of 5, mainly because I think the backstory, if it didn't have the backstory, this would kind of go maybe closer to a 4, but the backstory, written by Albuquerque, isn't bad. I just think it kind of detracts from kind of like the momentum of the main story. So, yeah, All-Star, I give it a 3.5, and well, I think they have good intentions behind having the backstory. Yeah, that one kind of really doesn't do that any real good justice. Batwoman. We're really gonna go through speeding through these titles. Batwoman's been fun. It is just so much better than the Andreyko bashing suffrage that we had to go through. So it's good to see us have a good Batwoman title. That said, definitely not as good as the Rucka run, nor the J.H. Williams III run, but it's still a good Batwoman story. I kind of want to see maybe either Tynan or Bennett just kind of run with it on their own, not kind of have a joint venture, kind of just have one writer and let it run with it. But the art by Epting's been really good. And while this sort of quasi kind of wrapped up the first story arc, to be honest, in this issue, it was just a big fight between Kate and the person she's been dealing with pretty much throughout the story. So it's been good. It has potential. A lot of people say this has been a slow burn. I agree with that. But still, light years better than a Draco run, and it's good to see Batwoman at least in a good place. This has a lot of potential to do some really great things. I'd like to see at some point us get back to more of a supernatural / occult setting of a Batwoman story, and hopefully we'll get that at some point. But yeah, Batwoman's fun. I'll give this a 3 out of 5. Nightwing. Nightwing's been awesome. Not going to beat this thing to the ground. I've been enjoying Nightwing since the very beginning, and it's just awesome. I do see maybe the potential for the straining of the Dick and Sean Zhang relationship, which I thought was really developed really well so far in Rebirth. It doesn't help Future Solicits kind of has some covers. Maybe not in the Nightwing title, but I think the Batgirl goes and Prey. Batgirl, Jesus criminy. Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, there it is. Kind of ruined maybe where Dick's love interest might go at some point, but still, this is great. A relook, not really relook, maybe quote unquote. I don't want to say really a reboot either, because it's taking the blockbuster character that some of us may know back in the day and putting a new spin on it with his brother. But this has been great. Yeah, if you're just a Dick Grayson fan, I don't know how you can't like Nightwing. This title has been great. I'll give this a 3.75 out of 5. Just been awesome. Been loving Nightwing all the way through. Just awesome. Another book I've been loving all the way through has been Super Sons. This one, particular issue, this was kind of like sort of a epilogue toward the end of the last story arc we had, or John and Damian dealt with that Amazo kid. And this one is just the fallout of John being grounded and leaving, and want to do a head-to-head confrontation with Damian, and then battling out in the Batcave, and basically getting a lesson of how Superman and Batman in the beginning never got along, but now they're best of friends, yada, yada, yada. And that's how Damian and John could be. What I love about Tomasi's writing in this story is that you can, if he doesn't have kids, I will be shocked, because this is definitely written in a way that it just screams, I'm a parent and I have kids, and these are kind of like the life lessons either I've seen as a parent or kind of ones I kind of want to impart on my kids through the lens of a comic book environment. It's just the way Tomasi really does do his storytelling in this book. It's just, it gets that dynamic, plus you see great interaction between Damian and John. It's because in reality, their relationship, it shouldn't work. It really shouldn't work. They are oil and water to the largest extent, but yet Tomasi finds a way to make it really work, and every issue has just been a blast to read, and I just enjoy the hell out of it. This one I will give also a 3.5 out of 5, and I am really excited to see where this next story arc goes. The art usually done by Jorge Jimenez, this issue done by Borges. Actually was kind of, while it was not as good as Jimenez, it feels like it has the same sort of style. And if you're reading this in a trade, to be honest, I don't think you would really notice, or it won't be that jarring of a difference of an art change. But Super Sons, man, if you're not reading it, definitely jump on board, because it's been really good. Okay, now we've been talking about some pretty decent Bat titles. Let's start going into the mediocre / bottom tier. Harley Quinn, it's tough to tell, and it's tough to say. I mean, this title, it is what it is. When you read Harley, you kind of keep it in perspective as to what I think your standards and expectations should be of it versus kind of what the hype it gets. I know I'm not the only one. This one is just one you just kind of read it and just kind of take it for what it is, enjoy it for what it is, have a good time, and kind of move on. You don't want to put this too much under a lens and kind of dissect the intricacies of the story, the art, and the technique, because it just won't work. Because this is just meant to be a good, feel good type of read, and take it for what it is. This story in particular, though, I think it's been better than has been lately. I still love Red Tool. Red Tool's a man. It would be great to see him have his own series, but I just don't think it will happen because it's just too much of a dang ripoff of Deadpool. But yeah, this one's good. Deals with Harley's parents coming in for a visit, and then we kind of have the fallout of the people that Harley was going after, the cannibals, and they've been released from prison, blah, 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 blah. And the art was good, the story's good, it had just quirky moments, it had this typical Harley dialogue, and the backup story by Paul Dini. I think this is the first time where I read the backup story, and I get, if you watch the animated series, that and The Carpenter, okay, this is all fine and dandy, but I think this is the first of the backup stories Paul Dini was in on this title where I was kind of like, even though they're all relatively kind of short, it kind of reminds me of, back when we had like the Batman Black and White, you get like an 8-page Batman story. Well, you get the same type of thing over the past, I think it was like 4 or 5 issues with Harley Quinn. We're just getting like a real quick 4, 5, 6-page Paul Dini penned Harley Quinn story. And while I've been enjoying it and taking it for this what it is, this one was the first one I was kind of like, meh. Harley, I'll give this one a 2.5 out of 5. But I think the Harley Quinn title, well, I'm amazed how well it does because it has such a cult following. But in reality, again, if you really want to dissect into the intricacies of comic bookdom into this title, it shouldn't work. I don't know how it's working. Because again, I just read it and it's like, great, Harley Quinn, it was good read and move on. It's definitely not going to make my favorite of all time, but it just, again, it's got the hype. Somehow it's doing great and good for it because, I don't know, because I think it's definitely I don't know if I can even recommend it. This is one of the few titles where I can sit there and say, I don't think I can recommend it. It's good, but how is it doing so well? Because every week there's like no leftover copies of Harley. So unless you're pulling it, you go into my shop, you're not going to get a copy. So I don't know how. To this day, I don't know how it's doing so well. I don't know because it is what it is. Trinity. This issue, all mana pull and the Trinity title on its own. I don't know. I think we've seen a progressive drop off of quality since the first story arc. When I dealt with kind of like the Poison Ivy, whatever interaction with the Trinity, them going to the farm, the Clark, the Kent farm, and kind of going there. It's been inconsistent with the art, obviously, because of Manapul being the writer and the artist can't keep up with the schedule, and it's really tough. I mean, this one, you're dealing with the Watchtower being infected with this virus, which turned out the other members of the Justice League into these aliens, and Cyborg cut the power of the Watchtower so it would kind of keep this threat self-contained and won't spread, and it's got to crash into Earth, and oh no, but Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman toward the end, and she's kind of off on her own, but have a choice, hey, destroy the vessel we're in, whereas they could eliminate the virus, prevent it from impacting Earth, or it impacts Earth, and then everyone gets wiped out. They don't want to take that risk. It's okay. I think Batman's voice in this, I don't think, was very accurate. It's just the dialogue we have for Batman was not all that good. The art was great to look at. It's Manapul art. I think this is like one of the first times I can honestly say on record that I think a lot of people had the complaints with Maniple with Buccellato on the Flash run and the Batman run, where the stories kind of start off good and kind of peter off and they can't finish the story, or they get frustrated with it. Me, I acknowledged that, but I thought maybe their story's a little bit better as a whole, even though they kind of puttered off toward the end. This is the first time I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the demands of Maniple and whatever in this title. It departed from what it was such a good start of the series, and I think progressively kind of petered off. I'll give Trinity this issue at the very best a 2 out of 5, and maybe like 2. Yeah, I'll give it a 2. And as a whole, I hope it gets better, because if it doesn't, I don't know how much longer Trinity will kind of hang around. I know we're going to maybe do something with the Dark Trinity here. Last one we're going to take a look at is the one I'm probably frustrated with the most on a Rebirth. It's Justice League. Okay, got it. We had just finished up with Fabok's run on Justice League New 52, and it was just epic in scope, and it was fantastic. Art was beautiful to look at, but ever since then, we had the Hitch run. It's just been progressively not good, and to be honest, very generic, very repetitive as far as the themes that they're going after, and this issue is no different. Batman's dialogue in this was just so rough to read, to be honest. And to be honest, I'm not really a big fan of Jessica Cruz. And this was a very Jessica Cruz-centric issue. And I got to think behind her character. She's very stressed, and she kind of has some social interaction problems and maybe some anxiety issues. But I got that. But that shouldn't be like every Jessica Cruz story I read. I get beat over the head with that trope of her character. And it just really... Well, I got it. It made sense in this issue, but it's just... they really are repetitive in that theme. And the art, while I thought it was okay, it's just the story. It's just Justice League has fallen from grace, and I'm hoping might not be as bad as maybe some of the stuff. I'm not reading Justice League of America, and I'm not going to touch that. Orlando has proven to me that I can take him in bits and pieces, but I think from my taste, a whole series by him will drive me crazy. I don't think he's that good of a writer, and the feedback that I'm getting in the Justice League of America proves it just that to be the case. Still, this has not been really good at all since the beginning, and I'm hoping that we just get Hitch off. Totally, just take them off. We need to get a marquee writer on this book. I was going to say maybe get Tony Daniel on here full time. Maybe it's just, this might be one of this book you need away from doing the double shipping. You do it once a month, but you double down on getting the right creators on there. Get a good writer and a good artist, and you stick with it. Justice League should be one of those titles that are doing really well, and unfortunately this has just been bad. 1 out of 5. I really suffer through Justice League every issue, and that's a shame. Okay, so anyway, those are my thoughts on this week's books, and we are at 33 minutes, so we're going to go through this relatively quickly. Went through a little bat hunt yesterday, impromptu, and I found some good stuff. So, first off, we got issue number 430 of Batman, Jim Aparo, along with issue number 432. Saw these in the long box, and I was like, I get some Jim Aparo art? Yes, please, thank you very much. So I picked these up, no questions asked. Good to get these issues into the collection. Next, got Batman issue 566, which is part of the No Man's Land story. If you're not familiar with this story, this is when Superman tries to come in to Gotham and trying to save Gotham, but as we later see as the story progresses, this is one that even Superman and his great powers can fix. This needs to be a Gotham problem solved by Gotham people and the heroes of Gotham themselves. So, overall, a good story. Good to get this in the collection. The next run is the dreaded Hammer run on Batman, but hey, it's kind of like you're a dad, right? You might have some great kids, you might have some ugly ducklings, but hey, they're your ugly ducklings, and you love them for what they are. And Hammer's run is one of those types. So got issue number 576, along with issue number 578, 579. As well as 580. Now, if you remember my last video I did, I kind of talked about the McDaniel art, where I kind of like his art, but at the same time he has some periods in his art where the character designs kind of get real pointy and jagged. Well, as you see in this issue, especially that one, that's what I'm kind of talking about. But still, the Ugly Duckling, gotta get in my collection, so definitely snag that up. Issue number 600, got more of the Brubaker run with McDaniel. This one being part 1 of the Bruce Wayne Fugitive. Again, McDaniel and the pointyisms, and it is what it is. Love that cover. It's just awesome. Good to get that one in my collection. More Brubaker. Batman number 607. Deadshot. Shot dead. So, moving on. More Batman. Got issue number 621. This one being Broken City Part 2. This one with Azzarello and Rizzo. I believe their run just came into a collection in a trade that was just released this week, I think. If not this week, next week. Broken City, it is what it is. Azzarello Rizzo also just did the first story arc of the story Moonshine and Image, which was pretty decent. But yeah, so obviously you want to get this in trade, or Azzarello's run, you can get Broken City, or you can get the collection they just released not too long ago. And this one, Broken City Part 4, issue number 625, Azzarello and Rizzo. Moving on to Batman issue 630. This is, I think, the finale of As the Crows Flies. That beautiful Dustin Gwinn art inside, written by Judd Winnick. Good to see. Got issue number 637. I think this is part 3 of Under the Red Hood. My boy JT. Centric story, so good to see. And then wrapping up these last couple, going to the Morrison run. This one with art by Tony S. Daniel. This is issue number 673. I want to say this is... I don't think... This might be toward the end of Black Glove. The next 2 issues, I think, might be the very end of Black Glove. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So, but the art inside, great Tony S. Daniel art. This one, 675, Morrison, with art by Ryan Benjamin. Awesome art inside. Again, I think it's pretty short Black Glove. Man, the kids are driving me crazy in the background. And which is kind of good because we're going to wrap it up here with the last one, issue number 686. Whatever happened to the Cape Crusader Part 1? I already do have Part 1 of this story in my collection, but it's the variant cover. It's Alex Ross with Alfred holding the cape and cowl, so it's good to have this one into collection. So anyway, kids are going crazy, so got to handle that. So anyway, sorry for the long video. Every once in a while, maybe kind of delve back into these current single issues, kind of talk about them, but we'll see. Definitely got some other bad stories I want to talk about as well. So anyway, hit me up in the comments below what you thought about these titles, and we'll bat chat about it and go from there. So until next time, take care.